Hey everyone, Kim here, Abundant Life Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me for another Maritime Mysteries reading. We are continuing on with our opening oracle reading surrounding the death of Anna Marie Kepner. And again, my condolences goes out to her loved ones. This is so tragic, and with each day, a little bit more comes out than the day before. And wow. Before I get into the card reading for the rest of this reading, I did want to do a quick review of the cards that came up, some standout cards to me that came up. So we're looking at this picture here. We have the ear, rope, hag, stick, herb, harp, shovel, and arrow. When I'm looking at this now, I now have a whole new appreciation for the hag card, and I mean no disrespect by this, but this may upset a couple of folks. But here's the thing. The stepmom, who is currently married to Anna's father, had put out a post, and she has every right to do that, and I can understand a person who's going through immense tragedy putting out something saying, don't talk about this case, don't say anything about Anna, don't spread rumors. Totally get that. But in light of what we're finding out now about potentially, allegedly, her child, which it would be a step sibling to Anna, having something to do with this, it really is unnerving. I'm just going to be frank here. I mean, the hag card, it does show a female. I'm just going to say that. And the meanings to this card is fears, nightmares, bizarre or malicious encounters. Those key meanings still stands. But now when I look at this, I'm a little concerned here by that hag card. And it's sitting underneath the shovel. Now, the shovel card can be about burying something or unearthing something, right? Just depending. We'd like to think that, law enforcement is unearthing the truth. And I firmly believe they are. I really do in this case. We've seen a lot of cruise deaths and mysteries and people who go on overboard and you just never know the answers. It just, it remains a mystery. But in this case, I do think we're going to get some resolution at some point in the future. And we will explore timing cards and what's to come in this oracle reading. So stay tuned for that. But I just had to look at some of these cards. And the hag card sits next to the stick card. And that too is alarming because it can denote some sense of awareness about a representation of power or abuse. And that's a bit alarming there, I just have to say. And we have the ear card, was card number one. Card number one is about hearing news, listening to others, being aware of situations. Those are the key meanings in the guidebook. Being aware of situations. Who's aware? Who's aware? Well, for certain, law enforcement, maybe the cruise staff, and also family. And then we have that rope card, card number 81, right? So some of you have been kind enough to leave some interpretations, and I love when you all do because you really help us to think outside the box when we're doing these readings. This is not just me sharing readings of cards. I do try to have this be a space where we learn and grow in cartomancy together, okay? It's not just me interpreting the cards. It's you too that's interpreting, all right? So there's that. We have the rope card, a strong connection or bond, being tied up or tangled in a situation. Who's tied up and tangled in a situation? The hag. The hag is. No offense, and this is just, I'm just noting that this is a female depicted here, okay? And the herb card, one of the things that came out was that the night before, on the 6th of November, Anna had complained of like an upset stomach, so she retired to her stateroom, and I don't know if anyone checked on her between that time and morning, but it was allegedly that the maids or the house cleaning staff that discovered Anna at about 11 a.m. in the stateroom that she shares, supposedly with a few of her stepbrothers. Okay. Now, also, what I found out in the last couple of days or so is that her dad is newly married to this stepmom. Like, we're talking within the last year, late 2024. If I'm like wrong on that, you all don't feel bad about correcting me, okay? So we just have some things here that is unfolding, and it's always interesting to look back at the readings because you can pick up on things that you may have missed, and that's learning opportunities. The black cards here that are shown, it says desperation, entanglement, vindictive, bitterness, internalizing, and rebellious. In light of thinking about the stepbrother, for example, as an example, everything's alleged here that we're discussing, right? This is interesting. Someone who's desperate, an entanglement. We went into great lengths of discussion about what that could mean. It also ties into what the rope card meaning was talking about. Someone being vindictive. Who was being vindictive? That's something we can explore later in a future tarot reading, you know, if we're called to do that in the near future. And I want questions from you on what kind of questions you want me to pose to the tarot cards. Should I do a tarot reading? Right now we're just doing oracle cards. I can gain a lot of information and insight from them, but I like to ask pointed questions when I'm diving in with the tarot. Okay, we've got bitterness, internalizing, and rebellious. Wow, who's internalizing and who's bitter and desperate? I mean, it paints a whole new picture. And then she wasn't feeling well. I do wonder why that is. And we will have to wait probably for toxicology reports to come back. One of the cards that we have here is DRUGS, may be an important factor in this case. The perp has a history of committing crimes, and victim didn't know the perp. Now, in this case, she did know, but maybe she didn't know him as well as she thought. I'm wondering what the living situation was for her. Like, where was Anna primarily living? Was she living with her grandparents? Was she living with her dad? From what I heard, they were all living in a 3-bedroom house. How can they all fit comfortably in a 3-bedroom house? It's not impossible. We make it work, right? It's not impossible. But it's just interesting to me. And I wonder if the perp has a history, and I talked about this in part 1. Check out part 1. The link will be in the description box. But does the perp have a history that may have been expunged or hidden that we can't see? And when does that usually happen? Usually with minors, right? Or maybe they got a slap on the wrist. Maybe they got in trouble, but nothing legal happened. Maybe they had to do community service. You see where I'm going with this? Now I want to take us to this next picture of the cards. I only had pulled 9. Normally I'll pull like 12 for this deck when I use my deck, the Secrets Revealed True Crime Oracle. But I felt like let's just, you know, keep it simple as much as possible and wait. And we did. I recorded part 1 in the wee hours of like Monday morning. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning on November 10th. And we're now at November 19th and I'm recording this video. The first card says drama filled, and no doubt it has been drama filled. Like, oh my God, there's, you know, an uncle who had kind of cracked the case open a little bit. Now, it's all alleged, what he was saying about the stepbrother and that the stepmom and Anna's dad potentially covering and actually knowing more than what they're sharing. But maybe there is some truth to the dad being kept in the dark, because if the FBI is investigating and they have suspicions, they're not going to be telling the parents of, a person that they think, a person of interest. They're not going to be telling them anything. They're going to be quiet and hush. FBI, law enforcement. If you follow true crime, you know that that's typically how that goes. And the FBI has to be extra careful, because if a minor is involved, there's all kinds of legalities, and there's the jurisdictional issues that is going on with the cruise ship, and where the potential death happened. So yeah, there's a lot going on here, and that is demonstrated with that private property card. Keep off my property, that sign. I just remember being a little taken aback by how people kept sharing that screenshot of the stepmom's post. And I don't know why. I think it did rub some people the wrong way. Like, ooh, you're telling us not to even say anything. I don't know if we can't say anything, because a beautiful young lady has lost her life on a cruise ship. She's young. What happened? It's not like you can tell that maybe she had a seizure or something. Is something going on here? What happened? Who was she with? Why is it all like secrets? Why is some family member saying this and this other family member saying that? Yeah. Then the registry card. And I was alarmed when I saw this card. Okay. I was alarmed. I'm not going to lie. And one of the things I kind of remember thinking, and maybe I even said it a lot. I didn't listen back yet to that video. But I said something like someone who will be on a registry after this, after being convicted or being accused or what have you. They may be going on a registry. And also I think what I was thinking about was someone who may have done things, who again may have had their records expunged, or that some of the things that they were doing was egregious enough to be on some sort of registry, but they got a pass. I could be wrong, totally wrong. So yeah, that was interesting. We have the computer card. It'll be interesting to see how that unfolds, or what comes about with that. Locals. One of the things I learned from you all in the past when I've done mysterious types of readings, the mysterious circumstances readings, is one of you so kindly said, local could be like very close to a victim. Not just like local in their town, but very close, right? Versus distant. And so that is interesting to me in looking at that interpretation. We have power control. That goes with the stick card. Power control. Then we have gloves. When you think of gloves, you think of covering up something, right? You think of hiding something, trying to, distance yourself, make sure your prints are on the knife, for example. Or in this instance, allegedly she was found wrapped in a sheet underneath the bed, and where the life jackets were. I don't know if life jackets were pulled and put on top of her, or if they just are typically stowed under the bed on a Carnival cruise ship. I've never taken a cruise ship before, but it's so interesting. I'm so fascinated by these mysteries, and I follow them, but I've never taken a cruise, so I don't know. You all have to educate me on that. Landfill, dumpster, trash. I talked about this at length as well in part 1, about how I feel like the perp, if there is a perp, threw away some key things, and maybe they had to, and maybe they should have. If they didn't, oh my God, I hope they did. Comb through the trash of the ship. And then I went down literally a whole rabbit hole, like I told you all I would, about how the ship gets rid of their trash and what they do in that whole process. If you're interested, leave me a comment and I'll share what I learned. But for the sake of time, we're just going to say, I hope they looked at that. And then the other thing that was bothering me was this S card here, of like implying that maybe somehow, and I'm not saying that her grandparents or her uncle was saying this, because they weren't. They were saying, no, her life was taken, allegedly. Like, I just got this feeling, though, like when I saw those posts being shared by people, like flooding the comment sections with the stepmom's post, like it almost was this implication that Anna did this to herself, or something happened, you know, like she got sick and perished. And that could very well be the case. That very well could be, right? This card could still mean exactly what it's saying. But I felt like it was like, someone making or trying to make it seem this way. So we'll see how that card pans out as time progresses. All right, friends, I've rambled long enough. I will timestamp this if, you know, I'm making a note to myself to timestamp it so that way we can get right to where the reading starts. So we can do that, okay? Thank you for listening to my review of the prior cards. Let's get started with part 2 of this opening oracle reading. Okay, let's get into it. Sarah, what do you want to share with us? I know when I first did this reading back on the 10th, I was worried, we got surprised. I was worried that we weren't going, it was going to be another one of those cruise ship mysteries. Chance. Taking somebody by surprise. And then as we have gone through these days since learning about Anna's death, it's becoming clear that no, this one might be different. This is depicting food that's about to go down the garbage disposal, right? In the sink. Old food. That's interesting. The taser. What happened, Spirit? What happened? What's going on? The landlord. One more. The night owl. Okay. All right. So what I'm getting a sense of here is we've got the surprise card as the very first one. This is about, it shows like a ticking time bomb, if you will, on the brain. Like, I'm running out of time. I'm running out of time. This is my chance. This is my chance. And I'm going to seize the opportunity and I'm going to strike. This over the taser card speaks right to that, right? Like, targeting something, attacking someone, subduing someone. This is my chance. I'm going to seize it. You know, I'm going to seize that opportunity. Then, speaking of chance, literally, that's the next card. Chance is the key word here. Like, strike while I can, you know, keep pulling at it, keep pulling at it. Like, this has been, you know, something that's been on this person's mind, coming and going. Like, you know, when I'm imagining when you're gambling and you go to a slot machine and you keep trying, you keep pulling down that lever, you keep trying, you keep trying, you keep trying, and it never, the opportunity hasn't come about until it does. And this opportunity, this cruise was this opportunity for this to happen. Okay. And look at here. It says lose again, lose again. Isn't that the whole thing here? It's like, I'm going to take a chance anyway. Like, this person, the perp, if there is a perp, allegedly, is feeling like a loser, feeling like they had opportunities in the past to do some harm to a female, maybe not just Anna. Yeah, maybe they could have fixated on Anna for sure. However, this feels like, no, I struck and I kept losing. I strike and I keep losing, and it's not working. I'm pulling down this lever and it's not working. And this also, when I look at the surprise card, could be that they took her by surprise, right? that this was a surprise to her. Now, we've got two cards that reference food or dinner. First up, we have here this. Now, at first when I saw this card, I'm like, maybe she ate something bad that should have been thrown out. Maybe that's why her stomach was upset. Then I remembered the card about the herb card in part 1 in the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle, that card that came up, right? And then that, drugs maybe involved or something along those lines, that could be in her system. And I remember distinctly saying, I had to come back and say it in the reading, that it may not be something that she wanted to ingest, that it may have been put into her food to make something happen. Okay? The other thing that this card is symbolic of is someone, it could be Anna, it could be someone, or the perp, or both, felt a bit like old food, like discarded, always discarded. I wonder what this is about. I wonder how this is also going to play out, like metaphorically speaking. You think about food that you shove down the garbage disposal. It's not something we typically want around. Who felt that way? Was it Anna or was it the perp? Was it a little bit of both? They were blending families. You see all this blended food here. And inevitably, someone could be bitter about that blending that's happening, okay? I could be wrong, It's interesting. This deck is so interesting. I've recently started using it in other readings, and it always is like, whoa, the cards that come up. So we talked about the Taser card. Now let's talk about the Landlord card. This devilish energy. The Landlord. I'm not quite sure how to take it. It's sitting underneath the Chance card. And, maybe it has something to do with her living situation that Spirit wants to talk about to us. More unfoldment will come about either in future readings we do, future cards, or just the news, what we find out later. Something about her living situation. I just question, where was she living? Was she living with her dad? It seems that way. Was she living with her prior stepmother, whose name, is obviously different than this new stepmom? There's two stepmoms. We know that she hasn't been living with her biological mom. So was she living with her dad? There's something about the living situation. Was she living with her grandparents? Was she going back and forth to grandparents and then to her dad's? Was the dad living in the new stepmom's house? There's something about that living situation that I am trying to put my hand on. But I'm a card interpreter. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. You all let me know what you think the Landlord card. And also it can speak to her temporary living situation on the boat, right? Someone she was, staying near, who is tied to her stateroom, allegedly. Okay. And the Night Owl. Again, another food reference. I wonder what time they were eating their dinner. I think maybe dinner time. I'm going to guess. But what I find interesting is this card might be giving us a clue on timing. Because here's the thing. We don't know if family members checked on her after she retired for the evening. So is the time of death 11:17 because that's when the coroner or the medical examiner, when they come out and then they mark when they declare the person they find and they mark it as deceased. And I say that because the maid allegedly discovered her at 11. Then you get the law enforcement, get the authorities on board, I guess, and maybe make an official time of death. And maybe she had been deceased even longer. Allegedly. We don't know. This is me, Kim, speculating. Reader interpreting what this could be. The Night Owl. Maybe following dinner, there was something that happened. And, and I don't want to read too much into the whole thing about her feeling ill, because maybe she got seasick, right? Maybe there was, rocky, or what do you call it, rough seas. Maybe she ate something that didn't agree with her. Maybe she was able to get a little alcohol. I don't know. We don't know. But the herb card stands out to me. It very much does. And it's something about dinner time that we will learn later with this Danny's card. It says the night owl. Is someone known to be a night owl associated with her? Is she normally a night owl? Is there phone records? Because did anyone check on her? Did anyone send messages or call her? I don't know what it's like when you're cruising. Like, if your phone is working, do they have like phone lines that you can call the different rooms like you do hotels, perhaps? I don't know. Y'all have to let me know. Did anyone check on her between dinner time and in the morning? And if not, why? And if so, what evidence was there to support that they checked on her? Was there surveillance camera footage that shows someone going and knock on her door and try to check? Did someone call her or her roommates? We don't even know who she was bunking with. Allegedly, it was her stepbrothers, but I don't know that for certain, right? This is all alleged. So there's that. But the night owl, I wonder how that also will play out. So that's what I've got here with these cards. You all let me know what you think they're speaking on and coming up with. I love hearing your interpretations because I think they really help us to unlock more about what's happening. It also could be speaking on what's to come too, and about what's happened and transpired in the past that led us up to the cruise. So think about that as well. Past, present, future. Okay? All right. Let's move on. We're going to work with the Divine Crime Oracle. I'm going to shuffle it in smaller sections because it is a larger deck. And we'll just see what cards jump out. Known to police in the system, criminal record. Okay. Known to police. Who is police? FBI. Or it could be local police. Okay. Algae swamp reeds. Van. Those interesting cards. We'll go with it though. Never know where it's taking us. Outback rule or deserted. Deserted. Some of these cards can mean like metaphorical meanings and not necessarily literal. Okay. I'll just explain in a moment. Oh, victim. Okay. Someone might try to claim they're a victim. Smoker. Interesting. There's some paperwork that was recently filed on the 17th. We have a female victim that's dealing with a court hearing surrounding, I guess, custody. And there was an emergency request to postpone the mom having to go to court next month in December. And there's references. You'll probably start to see it around online. If you're following this case closely, you'll probably start to see it if you haven't already seen it, where it's implied or indicated that one of her children is being investigated by the FBI. Okay, and so she can't make next month's hearing because she's having to deal with this, and she's pleading the fifth in this particular custody case to prevent herself from saying anything that can, implicate herself or her child, allegedly. This is the paperwork that's going around, legal paperwork. Okay, so there's that. That's a recent update to this case and why people are really honing in on the stepson, allegedly, right? What we're looking for is, will this get solved? Are we going to get anything? Uniform impersonation, corruption, or false? Hopefully that's not the case. Misadventure or lost. There could be a defense strategy down the line. Okay. I don't know how. Oh my God. Family. Not sure what to make of this one. Bicycle. I think I have an idea, but I'll be curious to know what are your theories. We have thug, stealer, criminals. March is of significance, past or in the future. Month of March. August is of significance, past or future. And I'll talk more about that in a moment of what that could mean. We have a body of water, river, or creek. All right, I think we'll stop there. It's a lot of hearts. Fix the tripod. Okay. Whew. Wow. So we have here known to police in the system. In the system could be as of now. They're in the system, but I know that people have been, like journalists and, news outlets and true crime influencers and, YouTubers have been trying to get their hands on records. The thing is, though, when you're dealing with a minor, you may not be able to access the records like you could with an adult. And there's the complicated issue of you've got to find where exactly would this child have their records. I mean, obviously it would maybe be related to like an FBI detention center. I don't know. But nevertheless, known to police. Police have a person of interest in the system and now has a criminal record or has a past criminal record. We've talked at length in parts 1 and this part earlier about that and what that could mean. This could mean someone who lives near a swamp, someone who's done something in a swamp or near a swamp in the past that comes to light. This also could metaphorically mean a swampy situation, a murky, a deeply emotional situation that feels like, swampy like. Okay, so it can be symbolic. Transporting to and from, maybe Anna rode in the same vehicle as them from time to time. I keep getting the sense that although they're step siblings, like they don't really know each other like that, or maybe she didn't want to know him like that. There's something about it. I don't know why I keep this nagging feeling that I got earlier when I was talking about it with the cards over here. But maybe there's some evidence found in a van, in a vehicle. Obviously, a vehicle could be a ship, perhaps, but I'm thinking an actual vehicle of some sort on wheels. And then, like I mentioned before, deserted rule, but deserted is what stood out to me. Someone feeling deserted, abandoned, someone was deserted, and that is concerning. Could be that there's some key evidence that was taken out to a rural area and discarded. Could be. I don't know. Don't know per se. I just don't know. Okay. Male victim is interesting to me. Now, at first I was like, oh, is there another victim that we don't know about? It could be that the perp is saying, I'm a victim of circumstance. I'm a victim of being accused. Could be that. But then it's sitting over the uniform, impersonation, corruption, and false male victim. It's going to be interesting to see what the defense is. If it is whoever the perp is, what is their defense? Is it false though? Are they going to try to play the victim role? Is there another victim that we aren't aware of yet? This corruption card, we have to be careful. It can mean that there could be some level of covering up. Now, it could be innocent enough why there would be a quote-unquote cover-up because, law enforcement has to keep everything under wraps. They want to protect the investigation, and they're dealing with the minor, so that adds an extra layer of a need for covering up certain information getting out. But we also have a cruise liner that could be having to cover things up as well in their eyes. So we just want to be careful of that. Also, this could represent that someone was impersonating being victimized or being hurt or not feeling well or needing assistance, and Anna followed that line of thinking, and it turns out that was false. Okay? All right. I don't know what to make of this one. Smoker. Maybe someone was smoking. A smoker. Evidence on a cigarette. Vaping. I don't know. Not quite sure what to make of this one yet. Maybe it's like smoking gun. I don't know. That old expression, the smoking gun. You have to let me know what you think the interpretation is, because I am the first to admit I don't always know right off the bat when I'm first doing a reading what the cards are meaning. And so I think it frustrates some of the people who watch my videos, but I'm very honest about that. It's not until I sit with the cards later and I look at the cards, I hold them, and I sit and I gaze into the victim's eyes on their picture, and then it's like, aha, or you all enlighten me on a different way of looking at things. So I always encourage you all to be open and flexible about your interpretations, and don't always feel like you have to immediately know the answers when you're doing a reading. That's a misconception. Okay? It's okay if the answers come later to you. Now, female victim. Clearly, that is our beautiful Anna, but it could represent someone else who was a victim. That's, but I feel like it's representing her. And the reason I think so is because, I love to talk about the cards that correspond. I don't think she was a smoker, but maybe someone has a bad habit, someone who's involved or in the know is a smoker. But I don't think she was. I don't know, right? But known to the victim. Now, in opening Oracle reading part 1, it was like, oh, she didn't know them. But I think now I'm starting to interpret that like she didn't know this person well who did this. But the person knew her. I don't know. Known to victim. And this is the victim. And it would make sense. Like if her dad, I don't know how long he was courting the stepmom. If we're going down the track of thinking it's the stepson, allegedly, how long were they courting? Were they courting a long time? We don't have those details. And I'm not going to tap into energies to even go down that path right now. It's not necessarily important or material to everything that's going on, but it is interesting. Like how long did he know this family? How long did even Anna know this family, right? And, you know, initially there was a lot of rumors like, oh, she was on this cruise with a boyfriend and friends. I mean, and there might still be people who still believe that there's crew members who had something to do with this, or other cruisers, like passengers, right? Or, you know, I don't know. But I feel like with this card, here she is, sitting next to this card, and she sits over this card, family. I feel like it gives us more information, and it goes with part one in ways I didn't even realize when I was doing part one's reading. Family. This one gave me goosebumps. Family's in the know. They have key information. They know something. Now, like I said earlier in this video, that law enforcement definitely is holding back certain things from the father and from the mom, for sure, as they should. But I think the family knows. Family is kitty corner to known to the victim. Family. Another thing that I find interesting is this card's position. It sat underneath male victim. It's sitting next to misadventure and lost. Like false. You know, oh, maybe she got sick and she drank too much and she did this, and, you know, her family and friends were coming out like, no, she doesn't do drugs, and I can believe that. But maybe, oh, it's made to appear this way. Suspend your judgment until, you know, and as people should, suspend judgment until the full medical examiner's report comes out. And really, we all should, honestly, right? I get that. But we need to be careful when you're dealing with a cruise ship investigation, even with FBI involved, because, again, there could be levels of cover-up that end up being that justice isn't properly served, and we pray for justice. We do. And I believe that justice will come in this case. But there's a lot of layers here, as y'all are seeing. It's like peeling back an onion and just, whoa, more and more. It's like getting stinkier and stinkier. It's getting more pungent as we pull back the first layer, the second layer, the third layer. But the false next to that, it's like, that's not true. Also, oh, maybe someone else did it. Some thugs, some dealers, some criminals on board. You know, maybe the perp also could have a past of dealing with these kind of people. Could be. But I feel like because it's sitting underneath this false card, impersonation, like that's yet another defense. A defense that could be given right now. We don't know that. We don't know what's going on in the interrogation room. But these are defenses that are coming out. She did this herself. You know, we don't know. Maybe she was feeling bad and she climbed underneath the bed. I mean, you know. Somebody else did this on the ship. Some, other bad player did this. But Spirit's like, careful about what you believe on that. When I didn't know what to make of this bicycle card, admittedly. However, typically only one person can be on this kind of bicycle. It's not like the little double bicycle. It's one person propelling it, moving it forward. One main perp. Yes, there could be family members who are trying to protect their family, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're implicated. Do you understand what I'm saying? It just means that they may be trying to do as much damage control as they possibly can because they are in a downward spiral. But that one person is responsible for propelling this forward. So there may be rumors coming out like, oh, the dad and the stepmom and conspired, and maybe the brothers help. Just remember this card, that ultimately it's one person that is responsible, whether it's known to the family, it's sitting next to the family card, or near the family. Could be near the family. Could be the next door neighbor of the stateroom. We don't know yet. We don't know. March and August is of importance. These are month cards. Now, sometimes they can represent names of like streets or cities, but I think it's representing, the months. It could be months of people involved, like of their birthday, their birth months. Could be that. It could represent something happening in the past about with the perp or with Anna or with them both. March is of significance in the past, as is August. So it could be birth months, it could be something in the past, and it could be some developments coming out in the future during these months. And lastly, river and creek. I'm not quite sure what to make of this. Maybe something disposed of in the water. I don't know. By the perp. Could be symbolic of something. A street or a name of a town. I don't think their town where they're from is this, but maybe a street that they live on. I don't know. Of where the perp lives, for example. You know how it'd be like River Creek or Creek. Trying to think, Creekside, or, you know, thinking of different American street names, for example. Or it literally could be symbolic of, you know, this runs deep. This situation has, you know, run way deeper than we can think. Or just simply somebody may have discarded something in the, you know, easily enough. You go out to the balcony or whatever, patio, you know, whatever you call it, and you toss something over into the water and it's gone. So there's that. That's what I got. I'm curious to hear what you all think about these interpretations. I'll see if I have time for one or two more decks. I don't like to make these videos terribly long, but it just is interesting to see because I do want to get the timing deck, and I'll be right back because I think that's important. We want to look at, you know, justice, or at least the investigation moving forward. My hunch is that we are going to find out what happened. I think that this is one of those rare cases with a cruise ship death that we may actually get some answers. Okay. All right. Be right back. I am going to work briefly with the tarot, like, will justice prevail in this case? And will we get answers in this case and get clues on when the next major developments are happening? We have the Sun card, which is yes. It's a definitive yes card. Let's see what turned up. Seven of Cups. We're gonna go. There's gonna be some hoops and challenges to get there, but we are going to. Things are gonna come to light. Clarity about what happened, who's responsible, etc. Five of Swords. It may be a while, friends, before things come about, but we've got some good signs here. Justice. Okay, I want one more. I don't want to. Oh, I guess I can show you what these are. I have this thing about like even numbers for my cards, but that's okay. That's fine. We'll just rock with it. All right, so I'm doing a quick tarot reading about what's to come. There's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy right here with the Hierophant, and just to expect that. As much as many of us want answers right away, I just don't see how that's gonna happen. But what's encouraging is in this mix of cards, we have justice. Justice will prevail. Retribution, karmic, you know, a karmic balance being restored in this situation. And it is very comforting to see. A young person, could be younger than the victim. Page of Cups is in the know. I mean, there's going to be a lot of legal wrangling going along, and for a time, it may, especially as we enter into winter, it may seem like nothing is moving and going about or coming about. With the Five of Swords represents the season of winter, midwinter particularly, or the timing of 5 months. But please do not be discouraged, friends. I've covered quite a few cases on doing these types of readings, and you know, sometimes it could look quite hopeless, like nothing's happening, nothing's moving. But we've got favorable cards here. The Sun, the Empress, justice, receiving justice. The Hierophant, having to jump through lots of legal hoops and challenges, but nevertheless coming to a point of getting answers. The Sun can represent the season of Leo, like July 21st to August 20th. Seven of Cups can represent mid-summer as well. So that being of significance either in the past and or especially since we're talking about justice coming forth in the future. That's a good sign. The Empress also representing like late, I say no, not late. It would be mid-spring that we might get some more developments. That would be April 21st to May 20th with the Empress. She also represents two time periods. She's one of two cards that does. The other time period that is of significance is September 21st to October 20th. When I say these time frames, it is just to say that certain things could be happening in the future during these time periods associated with these cards. But also, key things come about as the investigation unfolds about things happening in the past during these time periods. Justice represents also the time period of September 21st to October 20th. So that time frame is really of significance. It could even be the preceding September 21st to October 20th. And I say that because of that Empress, that second time period. So it's like Spirit is like, we need to look at that time period as something critical happening. We will still find out more stuff, bits and pieces in the coming days ahead with the Seven of Cups and the Page of Cups, anywhere from 7 to 11 days. But beyond that, Spirit is like, it's going to feel like we're on the losing end of information. And, just know and trust that things are moving along slowly but surely. We've got the Fraud card. Something coming about someone perpetrating a fraud. I don't know who that could be. It could be a mother with this Empress. But all of that will come to light. Someone spying, watching, seeking out. We'll find out more. Look at that. Spying on who? We'll find out more about spying on a daughter. Oh. I might set these aside, these oracle cards. Anything else from this deck, Spirit? Oh my God. Family. Family in the know. Family being highly affected by all this. How can they not be? This is going to have devastating ramifications for their family for a long time to come. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Now we're looking at timing cards to see if they support or contradict what's coming up in the tarot cards. I do timing with tarot as well as my This Time Oracle deck. Spirit, when will we get answers, or when will justice be made or had? Okay, Spirit's got, I'm going to show you all these cards. I'm going to put the quarter, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll stop at 6. You know how I am about my even numbers. Okay, 1 week. 1 week preceding this incident is of importance, as well as maybe 1 week from now, we're going to really have some idea of where the direction of the investigation is going. They've already, I think today, they already indicated that there's no danger to other people. Everybody's safe. So that's comforting to know. Up in the air, undecided. It's up in the air. There's a lot of different factors and variables going into this. We're on a particular trajectory of justice being served. Let me put these over here. I'm going to take a bigger picture when I take a picture of these set of cards. However, it's up in the air and undecided because, we don't know how this is all going to pan out, but we are on a general trajectory of justice being served down the line. And that's good to see. Tuesday is of importance. Tuesday preceding her death is of importance. I know it's seemingly like the last time she was seen alive was on Thursday at dinner time. But what was going on Tuesday? Was some spying on her happening? Could be someone perpetrating a fraud. I wonder what that is about. It'd be interesting to see how this card plays out. October is of importance in the future. Now, if October's already passed, so that could mean the past October, something of significance to Anna herself or to the perp or people in the know, or October is of significance about what's to come in the future. And I say that because of the Empress, September 21st to October 20th. Justice, September 21st to October 20th. Okay. August is of significance. Another key development. Sometimes you think about things that come about down the line. A lot of important court hearings, or someone enters a plea. Hopefully it don't take that long to enter a plea, God. But I've seen it take a long time in some of these high profile cases. But it could be a deal is reached. Something of importance happening down the line in August. Also, it can represent something of importance happening in the past August. Okay? And within a month. Hopefully we get even more answers within a month from now. We'll see. We'll see how it pans out. Wow. Oh, and I didn't mention the time periods. Like Cups is associated with summertime and the timing of days. Swords is representing for me the season of winter, or the timing of 5 months. Could be and or, right? And the Hierophant represents April 21st to May 20th, that being a time of significance. It's important, again, to pay attention to the Empress here. There's something, the Empress has 2 time periods, remember that. April 21st to May 20th. That's what the Hierophant is. Maybe moving through more bureaucracy, receiving more answers at that time. But we are dealing with, rules, regulations, laws, statutes, all this different stuff going on as it relates to not just court and law, the law and, arresting someone, but you're also contending with the maritime laws. I don't know. There's that. Then she represents September 21st to October 20th, which goes with this card. Interesting. But the Sun is so important. It represents August. We got that August here. We got that October here. And August, something really illuminating, coming to light. Just symbolic of clarity, knowing what happened. If we wanted to know, are we going to get all the answers pertaining to what happened to this beautiful soul? Yeah, we are. Oh, yeah, we are. The full shebang. The whole shebang here. We are. And that time period of midsummer is of importance. July and August. Well, friends, that's it for now. I don't know if and or when I would be doing a tarot reading. If you all think of questions, put them in the comment section down below. Please be respectful, of the victim, of family, me, each other. Please be respectful. I just ask of that. And let me know what you're picking up intuitively. Have you done a reading on this case? What comes up for you? Maybe you think it's a whole other situation. And I welcome that, okay? I'm not saying, you know, it's not me, I'm 100% right. I do welcome different thoughts, different intuitive hits. So share in the comment section. It's okay. And like I said, if you all think of questions, let me know those as well. Do me a favor on your way out, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot to me. I do my best to get on here and record videos when I have time and energy. So it just, when you do that, when you share, you like, you leave comments, it lets me know that you're engaging with me and you want to see more. All right, friends, please take good care of yourselves. Rest in peace, beautiful Anna. Oh my God. I'm so sorry that's happened to you, sweetie. I am so, so sorry. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.